Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yashodanandana Bhagadana Ranjana Shodanandana Bhagadana Ranjana Monatira Banatari Tira Banatari Yarada Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yashodanandana Bhagadana Ranjana Yodanandana Bhagadana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banatari Tira Banatari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gokula Landa Radhe Radha Gokula Landa Radhe Jaya Sita Ram Latman Hanuman 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 Jaya Gunanitai Jaya Gunanitai Jaya Gunanitai Jaya Gunanitaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Go Premanande Okay. Hi Krishna. Um, Hi Krishna. Feel free to take some mats and join me in the class. It will go on until 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Okay. So all right. Sorry. You're going home. Okay. Good. That's fine. Look, you can take some mats from behind there if you want. Yeah. Right there. Okay. So today we continue to speak on the perfection of renunciation. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, today's verse is number text 11. I beg you pardon. It's not 11. It's actually Bhagavad Gita 18 verse 3. Here Krishna is speaking to Arjuna and says, and this is the perfection of renunciation. We continue on this chapter. And so the Sanskrit, Tayadyam dosa ved itik, Tayadyam dosa ved iti eka, Kama prahu manishinaha, Yagna dasa tapa kama, Na teyagyam iti kapare. So, some learned men describe that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty. Yet, other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. Om Agyantimirandhasya Janandala Salakaya Shakshum Umilitanena Tashmai Sri Gurudev Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, well, thank you for joining, for coming along. Okay, so talking about tapasya, penance, charity, and sacrifice. In this class, I want to do something a little bit different, so I won't be focusing too much on those three main topics: sacrifice, penance, and charity. But I'll speak a little bit about the austerity of the mind, and then hopefully you'll see how all this austerity of the mind is tied up into this verse, and but this is where we start. We start with penance, charity, and tapasya, or charity, sacrifice, and penance. It is said that all the things are in the Vedas is to realize Krishna. It's the knowledge, the perfect knowledge, is to come to the conclusion that Krishna is the supreme. So, and this is the conclusion of the Vedas, as stated by learned men and sages. So that's the conclusion. But to get there, we go on a journey. So we have to practice certain things. We practice to be kind. We have to practice to restrain the senses. And charity and sacrifice. Mention sacrifice. that is, okay, let's just put these things into perspective. So sacrifice, that's very common in the Vedas since time immemorial. People been sacrificing animals. Sometimes people are sacrificed as well for a cause. Um, the Vedas are filled with so much information there about what one should do, what yagya can be performed, austerities, what mantras can be chanted um, to obtain some kind of perfection. You know, at the end of the Gita, when Krishna says to Arjuna, abandon all variety of religion, forget all forms, every variety of of um, practice or approach or religious practices, abandon these things and just surrender unto me, and I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. So have no fear. So Krishna starts by explaining in the Gita the whole journey, how one can come from very low position and elevate themselves at least to the platform of goodness. And then, when we get to the platform of goodness, then we can actually try practice. It is said that we become human when we attain the platform of goodness. That's where we start. And from there, we begin to understand spiritual knowledge, or at least understand the higher things. So it's a journey. It's a journey. And, Vyasadeva wrote the Vedas, and it was like almost like a license for sense gratification. Actually, what he was trying to help us. He said, okay, you do this, do it in the right way. Okay, you're going to commit some offenses, you're going to sin, you do certain activities, and they're not right. So we're going to regulate your activities that you do. So he wrote the Vedas based on that. So, okay, so you can enjoy material, you can have that material enjoyment, but do it this way. In this way, you won't incur sinful reactions or so much. And but he himself was unhappy about that in the end, because he wasn't satisfied with his work. And until Narada Muni instructed him that, you have not glorified the Supreme Lord, and that's why you're unsatisfied. So that's the conclusion of the Vedas. The conclusion is to glorify Krishna. So everything we do leads up to that. So here talk about sacrifice, charity, and penance. Okay, but today I want to talk about the austerities of the mind. Because there's so many things you can do, right? But according to time, place, and circumstances. Right now, in this age, at this particular moment, we need something. We've been given something very, very powerful. So we're given the Maha Mantra by Lord Chaitanya. And this mantra is particular for this age. But I want to talk about, as I said, austerities of the mind, how we can move and get to that place where we can actually become steady in our practice. We can chant nicely, call out to Krishna, which is considered the deliverance, the prayer of deliverance, this Maha Mantra chant. But we can start off with meditation. Meditation is something I do regularly, so it's not something I speak much about on this Vyasa-san, but tonight I might touch upon it. So, in the Gita, it says that Bhuktaram Yagna Tapasam Savaloke Maheswaram Sudam Seva Bhutanam Yakmin Sachit Rachate. So, Krishna said, just to qualify or back up what I've just mentioned about Krishna, is the one that the ultimate knowledge is to attain Krishna, or to know Krishna, or to remember him. And this verse qualifies that. He says that, Krishna says that, I'll just find this verse, what he says. 6. All right. Okay, but I'll just give you the gist of it, what this verse is saying. So Krishna is saying, I am the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities. Um, and and to me, all austerities and all sacrifices are directed towards me. They're meant for me. And when one does this and see that I am the benefactor of and you know of all these things, benefactor of all living entities or well-wishers, then one can attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. So, so peace. We're looking for that. We need peace in this time, but we need to actually control the mind and know how to do that. There's a process of doing that, and this is yogya. This is yoga in its perfection to remember Krishna. And one way of doing that, if we have no relations with Krishna, we feel no affection for him. We do not listen, we do not hear the glories of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We don't have the association of devotees. We don't listen. We don't come to the temple so often. So where do we start? But we can, one thing we can do is learn how to connect with the inner man through meditation to calm the mind. And this is, again, this is yoga. It's not the highest, but it's a good place to start. So there's a verse in the Gita, Gita chapter 6, 20 to 23. And in this verse it states that in the perfection of yoga called trance or meditation, so one's mind is detached from material mental activities by the practice of yoga. And it says that this perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. And it goes on to say that in this joyous position, one exists in transcendental, blissful transcendental existence, realized through transcendental senses. And it says, when you're established in this way, you'll never be shaken, even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. And it goes on to say that this indeed is actual freedom arising from material contact. So what is this material contact? It's not just physical contact, we touch something. That's not what it's talking about. It's talking about the subtle mind and subtle objects, sense objects. So this is where this meditation starts. It starts with the mind. How to restrain the mind. And this is tapasya. This is actually the requirement. That's why they call austerity of the mind for this age. Because everything else is difficult, very complicated. So we've been given Maha Mantra as a direct access to this transcendence and to the Supreme Lord. But it starts with meditation. Not to forget that we are living entities and we are living beings, or we're spiritual beings, and our journey is within. So we have a soul and we have the Paramatma beside us. So we're never alone, actually. We're never alone. We should feed that inner man. It's very, very important, because our day-to-day activities, they're more directed towards external objects, things out there, what I need to do in the world, job, plans for the future, things happen in the past, trying to rectify things. But we always engage in external things, activities, and not to mention family life and home and all these things. Yes, those things, they have their part. But the most important thing is actually what is happening internally. What is the state of the mind and the heart as well, and how to purify the self. And that cannot never be achieved by external means, like doing things. It's never happened. It'll never happen. It'll take millions of births. It'll never happen. So we've been given the prescribed method here of how to do it. And I just mentioned that verse about this perfection called yoga and how to control the mind. So this making contact with material object, as I say, it's not something. It's not a physical thing necessarily. It's not really. It's not just driving the car and feel how nice it is, or the nice house you can touch. Yeah, we have this sense of touch, and that's pleasing to the senses, you know. But the problem starts in the mind when we start to imagine things and start to make contact with material object through the mind. It's a very subtle thing. So we start. The problem is a subtle thing, is a subtle problem, and then the solution is a subtle one through meditation. So what we do, by restraining the mind, one can reach the super soul that is within. So we restrain the mind, and through focus, through practice, through withdrawing the senses, because the mind is the chief of the senses. Okay, so when we achieve this, we will, Scripture says that we will achieve peace from the pangs of material miseries. So all miseries are coming from the mind and coming in contact with subtle sense objects. So it starts with thinking, imagining, and doing. Because if we think about something for so long enough, we will actually do it. And that's how it is. So everything else in this age is difficult. So many regulations, so many disciplines, so many things to follow in the Vedas. Oh my goodness, a whole ocean. But the process is very simple, because in this age we're not qualified to do so many things as well. You know, the yagyas of the past and some of the mantras that are there. The other thing is that we don't have even the capacity. Our memories are very short. Okay, life is short as well. Memory is short also. So, and we are distracted by so many things. So we needed something simple, and something is given to us. The Maha Mantra is a very powerful tool in this age. Okay, other traditions have different other mantras, but they call it the Maha, which is, Maha means great. Mantra is mind. So that's what we do. Now, come back to this meditation, which is a lot's been said about meditation these days. Yoga and meditation. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki jai. Shri 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 Taram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Shri Gonitai ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So in this day and age, lots been said about yoga and meditation, but it's usually on the superficial basis, on the superficial level. But ultimately, people are looking for a way of quieting the mind and to find peace, and that is important, because if not, all we'll experience is anxiety and misery. And then why is it important then to control the mind? I mentioned before that when you control the mind, then the super soul is reached, the super soul within. Because remember, the mind is the bridge. It can be the enemy or it can be the friend. Okay, and if we, you know, first of all, the human being, there are different levels, and we have different components. The mind is one of them. So we have a mind, we have a body, we have soul. You know, so we have the gross physical body, we have the subtle aspect to us, mind, intelligence, and the ego, and then we have the spiritual aspect to us, which is the soul. So we're a spirit soul. So that's where we're going. We're trying to realize who the self is. And this is a process of self-realization. So, first of all, we've identified with the body. Naturally, by nature, the moment we're born, we're concerned about the body. You know, that's how we're taught. We're never taught how to become detached from it. And so we grow up with this concept, the bodily concept, and then we have to be taught then, okay, you're not just a body, but you actually have a subtle aspect to you, which is the mind and its false ego and the intelligence. That's a subtle aspect. And with some education, or some knowledge, proper knowledge, we can understand this. And then, when we go a little bit deeper, we go into the soul aspect. Does that okay? We're spirit souls, and that's the ultimate. Everything else is like false, because it's material. It's subtle, but it's material. The body is gross. It's still it's material, of course. The mind is subtle, but it is still material. The soul is eternal. It's not material. It's spiritual. So that's where we're going. So this knowledge is not something that we don't get this knowledge out there. We don't get this knowledge about the soul. Okay? We actually but we get about how to maintain the body and how to have a good life and all these things. These things are perfect. That's what we get in society. But our journey is to realize the soul. So we call it self-realization. And from there, from that position, then we can actually, we actually properly establish in Sattva Gun, which is pure goodness. So that's where we're going. So we can start, so now we're trying to control the mind, and which is not it's not an easy thing to do. The mind is very difficult to tame, very difficult to control. But once we get over this, controlling the mind, then we can actually enter into that state of liberation. And there are different kinds of liberations, which I won't go into because it's not appropriate for this class. But this is a good place to start, controlling the mind. And by doing so, then everything else will fall into place, and life will become much easier. Because we're not so shaken, we're equipoised, and we're not so harassed by the material energy because we've gone beyond it. Because the mind is making subtle contact with the subtle material energy, subtle sense objects, that is creating distress and miseries. So what we're looking for is peace, don't we? We need peace. So to get this peace, then we can learn to surrender. Surrender the self, and say, well, to the higher source, called the Supreme Being, and start to meditate on the transcendence. Because it's a matter of elevation. If we put our minds there and we train our minds to think this way, then eventually we'll attain it. Whatever we put our minds on, we can achieve. Actually, seriously. So people, and we can understand this. We have goals, and we do certain things to attain the goals, to attain those goals. It's the same for spiritual life. Same requirement. Not same requirement, the same principle. If we fix our minds on something, we can attain it. And so what is important in this life now, before we leave this world, is actually to understand what is my business and what's my purpose of coming here and being here. So, and if we don't control the senses and the mind, then we will never attain that. We'll never attain that knowledge. We'll not understand this purpose of the human form of life. It's not possible. Because the activities of the mind are meant to defeat the purpose and to bewilder us and to make us forget what the goal of life is. So that's why I'm talking about the mind, because actually it is the obstacle stopping us, hindering us from self-realization. And and the yogis of the past, the sages, they've understood this. And so that's why people go away in secluded places and areas and just meditate and chant on these things, to control the mind, restrain the senses, move away from the general populace, get away from people and worries and troubles and distractions, and go somewhere to meditate, to be fixed up in the self. This is what this verse is talking about, the verse I mentioned earlier, about in the perfection of samadhi or trance, one mind is restrained from material mental activities by practice for yoga. So this practice has been going on for since time immemorial, and but But here, we're not encouraged to do that. We don't go away by ourselves because here is to do with relationship. So we learn to serve, we learn to encourage each other. Because in this day and age, it's very difficult to do anything by yourself spiritually. And for the neophyte, for someone who's just coming into the process, it's almost impossible to make progress by yourself. It's kind of difficult. So here, it's to do with association. It's to do with support. It's to do with sharing a common goal, and to, share this knowledge amongst each other, amongst, others. Share it, and that's why this month we call the Marathon Book Distribution Month, which is it's a yearly thing we do here. So this time of the month, for the next month, we'll be out there distributing this knowledge. And that is considered also a tapasya, austerity, which is what this verse is about. Charity is in there because we're giving something away. We're giving transcendental knowledge, which is not freely available outside in the material, mundane world. There are so many literatures, so much knowledge out there, but it's for a different kind. It's for something else. It's more like for sense gratification. But here we're giving knowledge about the science of the soul and self-realization. So it's a form of charity. It's also tapasya, because people take it upon themselves, devotees, to go out there in this cold weather and to distribute this knowledge on the streets. It's happening now, and it's happening all over the country and over the world, in the ISKCON world. That's what's going on, and this is one great tapasya, to do that. Stand there and to take rejections. People not interested, but still you persist. You say, okay, and next person could come along and take a book, and that will change that person's life. So this is a business. So in this endeavor, we perform some tapasya. So that's one. But I mentioned tapasya of the mind, where we control the mind. That is another type of tapasya, and it's an austerity. It is not easy to do, but it's worth doing, because by doing so, we can save ourselves from all kinds of miseries and find the peace that we're looking for in this world, which is so difficult to attain. So I encourage you, my friends, to, if you have no form, if you're not doing any yoga at the moment, if you're not doing any meditation, and if I would say there are many mantras given, how we can, what we can chant to reach some kind of perfection. At least we can start the process in this life. Because sooner or later we'll have to do something, because we can't just sit there and do nothing. Because the human life is not meant for just being wasted on sense gratification. There's a verse that talk about, it says, Kasmadaya nindraya prikti labo jivita yatvata jivasya tapajengyasa natho yesaha kamabihi. So this verse talks about life desire should never be directed towards sense gratification, and that one should only preserve life because it's meant for tapasya. It's meant for inquiring about the absolute truth. And then it says nothing else should be the goal of one's work. So nothing else. So if it's not, so our work should be focused away from that desire for sense grat, and we should only try to maintain the life, preserve life for this cause. That is, to inquire about the absolute truth. So hence we have this motto of simple living, high thinking. Nothing else is required, no excess, no baggage. It is difficult this age, because there's so many things being thrown at us, coming our way, so many things that to keep us happy and comfortable, And all these things, they work against spiritual progress anyway. So here, this motto is simple living, high thinking. So, and with that, because you'll notice that not many things, the soul does not require the excess. It's not interested in those things. The soul requires knowledge about the science of living, the science of God, and all the knowledge about self-realization. Who am I? Why am I here? Why did I come here? Where am I going? And how to get there. These are the things we can inquire about. And so you can nicely start off by doing some tapasya, austerity, controlling the mind, and to go in. So one can find a simple place, a quiet place to start, and just meditate. That's how it starts. Just meditate. Don't have to meditate on anything. Just connect with the Atma, the soul within. Regulate the life air in the body, control the breathing, the prana, life air, focus on the breath, go in, and connect with the self. Everything is within. Everything is within us. Everything we experience from within the self. When we perceive something, the thing is, it goes on in the brain. We calculate this in the brain. Everything is internal. Actually, our world is within. The soul, the Atma is within, and our energy field is within. We should anchor in the body here, without being attached to the body. So, in a sense, the body is our home, but then again, it's our temporary home. Meditation brings us closer to that reality that the body is home. We can experience the body. We can experience the aliveness of it, the power that invested in it through the Atma, the energy, the spirit that energizes the body and animates the body. And then we can become still, and we can experience some peace. It is said that when we're in this position of the mind, when we're situated within this self, that we're unshaken even in the midst of the greatest difficulty. So when everything around us is going well, then we can be equipoised, we can be peaceful, and we can and then we can perform our duties nicely. We can remember Krishna and stay in that platform of remembering Krishna more often than if we do not meditate. Naturally, this meditation takes us to remembering the form of the Lord. And because ultimately, if you meditate on nothing, that's voidism. It's impersonal. But we need something to meditate on. So we meditate on something transcendental. So the most transcendental, Krishna is considered the most transcendental being. He's the supreme being, but he's the topmost entity. He's the most powerful. He's the most glorious. He's the most famous. So, and he's beyond the senses. But by meditation, we go a little bit deeper. It becomes more subtle, and we can perceive the Lord within the heart, because he dwells in the heart of all the living beings, all the entities. So you have the Atma and the Paramatma seated side by side. So we're never alone, and this becomes, we can be, the soul, the spirit can be awakened through this meditation because we're putting focus on it, we're putting attention to it. The human attention is very, very powerful. We should not underestimate the power of our intention and attention. So this is what. But also, because it's so vast, it's so limitless. When we get into this consciousness called meditation, there are no limits, because it's boundless. It's formless, it's nameless. Yes, but when we're in that state, we remember Krishna, and Krishna will connect with us. And he's very pleased when we think about him in this way. Just pure meditation about Krishna. I'm not mixing, not thinking about anything else, but just focus on the Lord. Then he's very, very near. He's always near, but he can be far. But when you meditate on him, he comes very near. So that's one way of doing it. Then we can chant the Hare Krishna Maha. You can remember the Lord within the heart and develop some affection for the Lord by chanting, either internally, mentally, or audibly. We develop some affection. When you develop affection for the Lord, you become closer to the Lord. And then you start to feel some transcendental bliss. You start to experience something you never had before, you never experienced before. Some qualities will develop. You become more patient. You become more tolerant. You become more giving. You become more observant of what's happening to you, around you. Your perception of the external world will change. You know, you will see that everyone has a place and everyone is on their journey. And then you become more compassionate towards all living beings. Not just people. So I'm saying this from personal experience. When one practices this way, they realize these things. And then we understand that, okay, I can see the plan. The plan is, okay, I have a purpose, and I can fulfill that purpose, even in this life. With the grace and the blessings of the Vaishnavas and devotees, we can accomplish our mission here. And what is that mission? What is that mission? What would you say your mission is, Prabhu, in this life? People's mission. What do you think the big mission in this life for us is? What would you put it out to? Just, you. Yeah, not just the mission. You're a devotee, right? You're practicing devotee, right? You're not. You're not practicing devotee. Okay, can I ask you a question? What would you say your mission in this life is? If you'd be so kind to share. Sorry to put you on the spot, but I think it's yeah.
Wow, I think it depends. I mean, my mission in this life is, I think, to help others, to be of service, and to bring aliveness, perhaps, to whatever it is I do, which is teaching English at the moment.
Okay, nice. Yes. And well, okay, that's useful. That's good for you because you have a goal. An intention, yes. That's very good because you're doing good to others, right? You're giving something to others. That's very good. Then what do you get from it? But it's a goal. There's something in it for you, no? If you know it's a mission, there must be something in it for you, no? It doesn't have to be. It could be selfless, where you do something. It's opposite the selfless. You give yourself and you give your time, and you're not. There's nothing coming back, and you'll be satisfied with that. That's there, but for most people, that's not the case. So we're doing something because there's some reward. Okay. That's interesting. Even in spiritual life, that's the way as well. We start off with the intention that I do something, I engage because I'm getting some gratification, I'm getting some reward, even in spiritual life. But it takes time. After a while, you understand that, okay, when I get to taste this transcendental, this bliss that comes with practice and meditation and engaging in pure devotional service, when I get a taste of this, I realize that I don't need anything else. I say, you don't need anything else. And one who engages with Krishna in Krishna service, who is dedicated and absolutely fixed up in their devotion to their Supreme Lordships, they don't want anything. They don't even ask for benedictions from the Lord. It's Lord is very kind. Someone once said to me, I was along with this person. This is in my karmic life. We were going through some difficulties, but I used to love to pray to the Lord. And the person said to me, "Why don't you ask the Lord for this or that?" And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I mean, I wasn't a pure devotee, but I realized that there was something more to the Lord than to ask for things. There was something else that was sublime. You know, it wasn't material. It was not all material, something sublime. And pure devotees, they experience this. You know? So that's why they could give up anything for the Lord. Anything. Just to attain for more of that bliss. For the bliss. Because, and I think the science behind it is that the Lord has all the opulences in full, all opulences, wealth, beauty, strength, renunciation, fame, and knowledge, these things. Because it has all things, everything is in full. When a devotee is connected to the Lord, he is fully satisfied because the Lord is connected with the Lord. He's fully satisfied. Because Krishna is that way, I am that way as well. Even without possessing anything, because he's connected to his master. The other thing is, because the master is pleased with his connection. Because if Krishna is pleased, then the devotee is automatically pleased. And that is it. If Krishna is pleased, then devotee is pleased. Krishna has everything. And what can please him? Service from devotees. But when he's pleased, wow, then everyone is pleased. Because we're parts and parcels of the same, of the Supreme. So this is how devotional service, what devotional service is about. It's about giving without expectations. And in so, then one gets everything. Because one tastes the bliss of Krishna, the bliss of transcendental bliss, and unpolluted happiness. Then the goal of life is achieved. And this is beyond material conceptions, beyond anything that is material. So the soul is, when the soul is fully satisfied, then the person is fully satisfied. And nothing is required. It doesn't need anything. It's quite interesting. So that's the power of devotion and the power of Krishna. He can satisfy the devotees, even taking away what he's got. Krishna can take it away to bring the devotee closer. And that's why some devotees are bereft of material possessions. Some of them give it up willingly, just to give it up, because, okay, Krishna wants me. Yeah, so I have a few minutes. If you have any questions you want to throw at me, please feel free to. Prabhu, I think you have a question. Yeah. It's your first. Oh, it'd be nice to have a mic. No, the mic is behind, but I don't know who is. Do you know where the mic is, Prabhu? Yeah, please. Yeah. Perfect, yeah.
Can you hear me? Hello?
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 Yes,
Oh.
yes.
Is it, sorry, Cyrus?
Cyrus, yes.
Cyrus?
Yes.
I
And
did have
what's your name, Prabhu?
Ross.
Ross, yes.
Ross.
I think I heard that before. Yes, Ross.
Cyrus, when I was walking up just now, I passed the board in the car park that was about reincarnation. And I ask you a question about that.
Reincarnation?
With reincarnation?
Yeah. You'd like to know about reincarnation?
Well, it kind of struck me because I read the piece on the board and it talked about reincarnation from one life to another. But is reincarnation within this life also viewed like we reincarnate within this lifetime, like from a child to the adults to the elderly? Would that be considered reincarnation in itself? Or is reincarnation just from one life to the
yes,
next?
birth. From one birth to another.
Okay.
Reincarnation.
So even if the body changes or it's
The
a
body's
completely
changing.
different body?
Yes, in this life the body changes. Then the final change is at death, when it stops, and then the spirit leaves, the soul leaves the body, or the subtle body leaves the physical body, and it goes out somewhere on its journey. and then this remains, this lump of matter remains, and then we do whatever we need to do with it. We need and burn it, or give it to the dogs or something, put it in the ground, give it to the worms. Yeah, that's fine. The body changes, but the final change is death, and then reincarnation, rebirth.
Right.
Because we're certain to attain another body, because we've been doing this since time immemorial.
And that would be based on our karma
Yes,
at the
based
time
on
of
karma.
death?
Is this karma that keeps us here, keeps us coming back? Because every moment we're generating, we're creating karma for the next life.
And can we purify that karma?
That's the process of Krishna consciousness.
That would be the
It's
purification.
to break it totally.
Excellent.
So then then we don't have to come back at all.
Right.
We
Thank you.
can get a spiritual body.
Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Kyle.
Jayo Jaya Gaura Chandre Arati Kashoba Viva Jayo Jaya Gaura Chandre Arati Kashoba Advaita Vasa Chatradara Osaki Ate Gaurachat Rata Simasane Adideva Gane Narare Adikore Kamararulaya Aho Koti Chandra Jini Vadana Ujvala Jala Dese Vanna Mala Gore Jala Mala Bhakti Vinoda Deke Gaura Rasampada Vivajano Jaya Gaura Chandra Arati Kashoba Janare Tatavane Jagamana Lopa Gaurange Arote Shobha Jagajanamana Lopa Gaurange Arote Shobha Jagajanamana Lopa Gaurange Arote Shobha Jagajanamana Lopa Jagajanamana Lopa Jagajanamana Lopa Gaurange Arote Shobha Jagajanamana Lopa Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishnaprastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Saridor Bhaktivedanta Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sari Pura Bhaktivedanta Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sari Pura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda Radhe, Radhe Radhe. Jaya Radha Gokula Nanda, Radha Gokula Nanda Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jai Jai Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Haribol, 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 Haribol. Nitai Gaur Haribol, 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 Haribol. बोलो श्री श्री राधे गोकुलानंद की जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र सत शिष्यमाद His Divine Grace of Vaishnava Bhaktivedanta Manor Srila Prabhupada ki Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrakacharya Stotra Sata Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Ananta Kori Vaishnavrinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kunara Kungiri Govardhana ki Shri Vrindavan Dhama ki Shri Ayodhya Dhama ki Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dhama ki Shri Nilasala Chandra Dhama ki Ganga Jamuna Tulsi Bhakti Devi ki Samaveda Bhaktavinda ki Nitai Go Premanandi. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to the Lotus for Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, thank you for coming. Please take darshan of Radha Gokulananda. Curtains will close in a few moments. In the meantime, we will have a nice song to Nrsimha Dev. So if you want, you can sit down. Our beloved Cyrus is going to lead us the way.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Lada Dayine. Ito Nasimha Pradato Nasimha. Yato Yato Yamitato Nasimha. Bahe Nasimha Ridahe Nasimha. Nada Simha Manim Sharanam Prapade. Tavakala Kamala Vawe Ankan Abuta Swingam Dalikani Ranya Kashipo Tanu Bringam Keshavadita Nalahali Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari Jaya Jagadisha Hari. Jaya Nrsimhadev, 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 Jaya Nrsimhadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Nrsimhadev Bhagavan Ki Jai, Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Go Premanande. Thank you all for coming. Mahaprasad is being served in reception.